Hey guys, today I'm bringing you one of my super secret spawning techniques that's going to catch you a lot of bass this year if you watch the rest of this video. Make sure to stay tuned. Hey guys, welcome to my channel. If you get a chance, before we get any of this stuff started, hit that subscribe button down here in this bottom right corner. I think it'd be the right corner for you. Hit that subscribe button if you get a chance. I really appreciate it. If you already have subscribed, thank you very much. Like, that means a lot to me, and I really enjoy bringing you these videos. But let's just jump right on into it, okay? I'm going to show you a technique, a bait modification that is going to put a lot of fish in the boat for you this spring. And if you just stick with me, I'll give you a few little clues and nuances that are going to help you catch a lot of those fish. Without those clues, it makes it a little bit more difficult to catch them. All right. So one of my favorite things to fish in the spring, and probably one of your favorite things to fish, is a Senko or an Ocho, a stickworm, okay? Just a stickworm. You know, there's a bunch of different ones out there. I throw the Ocho. The Ocho is actually a little bit heavier, so I can get more casting distance. I don't have to put a bigger weight on there. I can fish it weightless a lot more, catch a lot of fish. It actually helped me win my first tour event on Lake Cherokee. So love that bait, just catches a lot of bass for me. So we all fish this Ocho. We wacky rig it, we Texas rig it, we flip it, we do all kinds of things with it. Well, one of my favorite ways to catch them in the spring is to actually put a blade on it. You know, here's just a little Colorado blade. There's a couple companies that make them, Talon, Humdinger, just to name a few. You get them a lot of different places. I get mine from Tackle Warehouse. I buy them just like you do, okay? But I'm going to explain to you my tackle and exactly how I fish it and how you can modify this thing to catch more bass when you're on the water. All right, so first thing that I do is your hook. Your hook is probably one of the most important aspects of this rig, okay? There's a bunch of different hooks you can use. Guys like wide gaps, they like straight shanks, just, you know, it's a lot more has to do with your personal preference. In this case, I use one hook. I use a Gamakatsu G-Finesse wide gap hook. And what this is it's a cross between an offset hook and a wide gap hook. It's not as wide, but it's not as skinny. This hook was actually designed by Aaron Martins, which, I mean, he's really meticulous with his tackle, and that's probably one of the reasons I really like using it. So what I do is I take this thing weightless, okay, and I go about, I'd say, a quarter to a half inch down in my worm. I rig it out, just like so, just like your standard Texas rig. As soon as I pull it up, I want to pull it over the line tie. I'll enter back through the worm, okay, and I want to go all the way through, okay? You can see my hook point over here, and I just want to Texpose it. What Texposing is you want that hook all the way through and just to skin hook it on that back side. And I'll explain it to you. The reason is because sometimes these fish hit it with so much force, and they want to eat it, they want to kill it so bad that they'll actually hook themselves by having that hook Texposed without you even having to jack them. So it makes it a little easier for your hookup ratio. And this hook has a really slick coating on it, which I think helps the hookup ratio as well, especially that Ocho. The Ocho is already kind of slimy as it is, so that hook just slides on it real easy. But let's get down to the business end of this. This is a Humdinger blade. Talon makes them. Humdinger makes them. A bunch of companies make them. But it has a little hitchhiker in it, okay? And I'm going to explain to you the process of what I do here. So I'll get a new one, and I'll get a blade. This happens to be just a chartreuse blade, and I like to change my colors up a little bit. I'll throw chartreuse, orange, gold, silver. My favorite is gold. I don't know why. Gold just works better. But basically what I do is I take that Ocho, and at the tail end, so this is the head, the flat end, the very flat end, that's the head, the tail end, and I'll cut or bite off about a half inch. I want the end to be a little bit larger than what it typically is. And so what I do is I start putting this hitchhiker in the tail end of this Ocho, and I get it about halfway in. So like there's still a little bit of gap there, okay? What I do then is I get some liquid super glue, and I'll actually put it on that wire, okay? And then I'll finish screwing it in, and I'll explain to you why. So what that does is it helps seat that plastic a little bit. These things have a tendency to throw off when you throw them. If you throw them too hard, the blade will go flying, and you got to re-rig, you got to put a new Ocho on. It gets kind of annoying. You can do it with a Senko. I don't care which one you're doing it with, that will happen. All right? So I put a little super glue on there. It holds it on there really good. All right, that's the first thing. The blade, super cool. All right. Another thing, this is actually a little trick that a buddy of mine named Cedric came up with. And now I love Cedric to death. He's a phenomenal fisherman. But it was so goofy when he did it. I was like, Ced, are you really for real doing this? And what he did is he had already put the blade in there, and he dipped the blade and the end of the bait, the end of the Ocho in there. And I'm like, dude, what are you doing? And man, let me tell you right now, that kid put it to me. Like, I mean, absolutely wrecked me by dipping that blade and dipping the tail end of that bait in there. I don't know why, but I think whether it was the scent that spike it dye gave off, or just the sheer amount of dye that we put on. I mean, it's up like an inch up the size of the bait, plus you have the dye on the blade itself. And we did that, and we caught just an absolute ton of fish. And I had just gone through this area with a regular Ocho, never had a bite, turned back through there with this blade, and just smoked them. I mean, every cast. It was literally every cast, okay? So that's the first thing. Second thing is, one of my favorite things to do is I'll get the right weight, is to get a Strike King tungsten weight, whether it's an 1/8 ounce to a quarter, depending on depth. So if you're in 1 to 2 foot, I don't like a weight on it at all. A little bit deeper, go a little heavier. You see where I'm going here? Make sure you peg that weight. And that's one big clue, okay? So if you need to fish a little deeper, throw your weight on there. You'll catch a lot more fish on it. But I really like fishing it weightless. You know, I think that adds a lot of character to it. You can fish it a little bit slower, and I think in the spawn, you need that little bit slower. So to explain to you how I fish this, I mean, so right now I'm just envisioning I'm fishing in 1 to 2 to 3 foot of water. The fish are spawning, or they're coming, okay? Scattered bushes, hydrilla, maybe even some hay grass or milfoil, whatever it may be. Those fish are kind of around these targets, okay? I'm going to throw this weightless Ocho with this blade on it. I'm going to throw it into holes around cover, and I'm going to use it as a drop bait like you would have traditionally an Ocho rigged this way without the blade. I'm going to cast it out there, let it sink. I'm going to shake it up, let it sink, shake it up. But then I'm going to reel it in slow. Don't burn it in and make another cast. Reel it in slow. Because a lot of times those fish are sitting there looking at it. They see you move it. They see you move it. And then you start reeling it away from them, and that's when they eat it. And that's where your tackle comes into play. And probably one of the most important aspects of this rig is what tackle you fish with it. In this case, I throw a TP1 Black speed stick. It's a 7.2 medium heavy jig rod. So you ask, why do you need such a big rod for this rig? And I'll explain to you. This rig, the fish hit it so ridiculously hard that if you don't throw a little bit heavier, stiffer rod, you're going to lose them. And in this case, this jig rod is perfect for this technique. I throw it on a 7.5-to-1 reel. I prefer the custom light because it is so light in your hand. It's the lightest loose reel that's ever been made. And probably one of the most important aspects is the line size. And so I know we're accustomed to saying, okay, let's go throw 15 or let's go throw 12 on our stick baits. In this case, I throw 17-pound line. And it's strictly because those fish hit it so hard, and you have to hit them sometimes really hard to get that hook driven in. So 17-pound tour grade fluorocarbon is the rig. Man, if the fish are spawning where you're at right now, or they're getting ready to, if they're moving up, you need to try this rig out. I promise you, this is one thing that I can absolutely promise you. If you go try this thing, you get you some Ochos, get you some of these blades. There's a bunch of different ones out there. Get you some blades, get you some of these G-Finesse hooks, and get this gear. You're going to catch a lot of bass this spring, and you're actually probably going to go through so many Ochos that's going to make you crazy. But you know what? Isn't that what we're doing out here? Just trying to catch more bass? Because that's what I like to do. I like to catch bass. And I want to bring you tips that teach you how to catch more bass. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for subscribing to my channel. I work really hard to bring you some of these best techniques that I can come up with. Thank you, Cedric. Man, thank you, Ced. Like, dude, without you teaching me how to use this deal, I wouldn't be able to bring it to other people today. I hope I didn't let the cat out of the bag too bad. I didn't explain exactly how you fish it, thankfully, because there is a way that you fish it that's a tiny bit different. But that's the way that I've incorporated it in my stuff. But I always want to give credit where it's due. I'm not going to always say that I come up with all these great techniques and stuff. Sometimes I do. Sometimes they're a modification of somebody else's great technique that I made it my own. So get out there, go fishing, have fun. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks for watching, guys.